Hello, my name is Rob, and today I am doing a Jigsaw murder mystery thing. Hello, welcome to Rob's Random. This is a channel where I do whatever I want, and I think this is a pretty good summary of that. This is a weird jigsaw puzzle thriller mystery game that I found in a charity shop, and I knew I had to make a video about it. So recently I was on holiday with my family in Dorset, and one day we went to a few charity shops to see what they had, and I found this. It cost me £3.50 and it is a mystery jigsaw thriller with a secret puzzle image. So this is To Kill a Boss. It is from Be Puzzled and it came out in 1994. As of filming right now, I literally don't know anything about this. I vaguely read the back when I was in the shop, and then I just thought I'm going to do this as a video and we're going to do the whole thing live, basically. So I'm going to try and solve this, and I'm going to show you everything as we go, and you're going to basically play this game with me. So this is apparently classed as difficult, so I don't know how easily I'm going to do this. I'm really hoping it's not going to take me more than an afternoon, basically. So this is To Kill a Boss. It is a game from Be Puzzled from 1994 with a story by Alan Robbins. I don't know who Alan Robbins is, but he must have been big to have his name prominently on the front cover of this game. So the back of the box says, To Kill a Boss, a mystery jigsaw thriller with a secret puzzle image, story by Alan Robbins. Read the story of inter-office murder with no witnesses, just photocopies. Assemble the 500-piece puzzle, solve the mystery by separating the truth from the lies. I'm really excited to play this. This genuinely sounds really fun. And then the note, a secret puzzle image is different from the box cover. This is not what we're making in the jigsaw. Very important. So, the story. Walking into the offices of Hoop and Holler Advertising, you'd have thought they'd won a big new account. But the staff was celebrating a different victory, the murder of their boss. After enduring years of his abuse and duplicity, had one of them simply snapped, or was something bigger at stake? The answers are hidden in the story and puzzle image, but watch your back, the puzzle image is not the same as the box cover. The author, Alan Robbins, is an award-winning writer, artist, and graphic designer. He has written 16 books and delighted millions with his ingenious puzzle creations. If there was anyone in the offices of Hoop and Holler Advertising that Oliver Kemper hadn't harassed, embarrassed, stepped on, or lied to, it was an oversight on his part. As an employer, he was an equal opportunity horror show. So when he was found dead on the floor next to the photocopier, the staff called it a day and threw a party. But something wasn't quite right. Sure, they all hated him, but enough to kill him? No one's that unpopular. Besides, murdering the boss looks terrible on a CV. Enter Detective Peterson, who sized up the situation and decided that whatever it was they were selling, he wasn't buying. Behind the graveyard humour, there has to be a real reason why Oliver Kemper's fast-track life had come to a sudden, bloody end. Somebody wanted something, and wanted it badly enough to commit murder. Join Detective Peterson as he follows a crooked trail of clues to the agency avenger who had the motive and the opportunity to kill a boss. First, read the short mystery story enclosed. It will give you input about the ad man everybody loved to loathe. The puzzle. Next, assemble the 500-piece puzzle and sift through the evidence. The solution. Examine all the clues closely, then check your assumptions by holding a printed solution up to a mirror. If you want to cheat, go ahead, but don't advertise it. So next up we have our cast of characters. Loretta Garrett, an iron-willed copywriter who worked under Kemper and rejected his amorous advances. Did she write her own ending to Kemper's story? Wilfred Sneedy, a brash young art director who had a secret plan to buy the agency. Was he also designing a murder to avoid detection? Andrew Evans, an elegant man of class and a top account executive at the agency. He too was involved in the buyout plan, but how far would he go to win this account? And Millicent Craven. Kemper's neat and organised secretary knew too much about her late boss's shady dealings. Had she grown used to his attempts to blackmail her into silence, or did she decide to silence him herself? And that is everything on the box. So now we can open this up and actually see what we get inside it. I'm genuinely really excited to play this. So let's open this up and see what we get inside. Just slide this out. So we have a whole booklet of stuff and a jigsaw. The murder victim, Peterson announced. He said it as though reading the phrase off a sign on the body. That's how obvious it looked. almost as if the whole scene had been staged for his benefit. It was strange. Walking into the room, Peterson felt that he had entered a bizarre office cemetery. The lights were off and he was using his flashlight. The room was dead quiet. Even Peterson's breathing was echoing, like a morgue. And the dead man had already been buried. Not under the ground, but under a mound of paper. Dozens of sheets. Only parts of his body were visible through the pile. He was lying at the foot of the copy machine, half covered with copies and other documents. His right hand was still clutching a red marker, as if he might dash off a quick memo. But the fancy pair of scissors sticking out of his neck suggested that his next communique would be spiritual. It was strange, alright, but a fitting tribute to the victim. He was, after all, the office manager, and here he had been given a fancy bureaucratic funeral, buried under mounds of paperwork. It gave a whole new meaning to the term working stiff. "Anything happening?" Officer Benning asked, popping his head in through the door and clicking on the lights. It was 1 o'clock in the morning and he was hoping for an early break. Peterson was too, but it didn't seem likely. Things were too messy, he thought. The clues would be slow in coming. "Somebody stabbed him," Peterson said, pointing to the obvious. "Ouch," Peterson suggested. "Look at all this paper." "Yes," Peterson muttered, "but I think there's something missing." "Sure something's missing. The murderer," Benning said, trying to be helpful. He took out the notes he had made and handed them to his boss. "No, I mean here in this pile of paper. Something seems wrong about it, but I'm not sure what it is." Peterson was pointing to the blood-splattered copies that were strewn all around. He was following the trail of red drops with his finger, but the trail was random and led nowhere, like the erratic pathway that he had followed when he entered the office suite an hour earlier. It was a huge office taking up most of the 14th floor of the building. Peterson had left the elevators, followed the signs to the right, and walked down the hallway. It was midnight when he arrived and the building was quiet. At the end of the hall, he approached large wooden doors with the company name in huge silver letters. Hoop and Holler, it said, with an arty ampersand. Underneath it was the word advertising in thin capital letters. It was a fancy logo that said money, pizzazz, and greed all at once. Inside the doors, Peterson went to the reception console. There was a shiny chrome counter where the receptionist announced, directed, or ignored you, depending on the cut of your clothes. But the young woman sitting there at that hour seemed distressed as Peterson flashed his badge. The finger quaked when she pointed him through the door behind her. The main office suite of Hoop and Holler was an immense room, once the news centre of a defunct daily paper. Now it was divided into cubicles by low grey walls that gave the impression of a maze for running the rat race. Peterson got momentarily lost among the computer terminals, ergonomic chairs and grey desks. He stopped at one cubicle to get his bearings and studied the daily planner, the magnetic paperclip holder, the pad of post-it notes and the tin of pencils, all bearing the letter F. The usual supplies of the 9-to-5 life. A sign over the desk read, "Only Robinson Crusoe could have done everything by Friday." It gave him little inspiration. Finally, standing on a chair and peering over the walls, he saw the white hair and mop handle of the cleaning woman and made his way towards her. She was the one who had called the police. Having gone into the copy room to make up the day's trash, she found the body in the darkened room. She shrieked. Others came. She dialed 911. Nothing special there, Peterson thought. Just a B-movie with a bad soundtrack. She led him through a pair of double doors to a connected suite of offices. These were more luxurious workspaces, rooms with privacy and pomp and windows looking out into the midtown traffic. Honcho Lane it was called, where the upper-level execs spent their day. Adjacent to these offices was a room for office supplies, a package centre, the bathrooms, and the copy room containing 4 copiers, stacks of copy paper, and one so-called murder victim. Dismissing the cleaning lady, Peterson stood in the dark room alone with the deceased, trying to recreate the moment. As he saw it, the victim had been at the copy machine making copies. He was facing away from the door, working in the dark with the lights off. The low light from the copier must have given his face an eerie glow. Then someone had entered the room, sneaked up on him from behind. Perhaps there had been a struggle. The murderer stabbed him with the scissors. He fell onto the copy machine. There was blood there. Then he slipped down to the floor, taking all the paper with him. But there was still something wrong about it. That was the moment when Benning came in and broke his concentration. "His name is Oliver Kemper," Benning was saying. "He's the office manager of the ad agency." Was. He's the murder victim now. He was also one of the vice presidents of the company. Big hotshot. Drives a Rolls Royce. 3 people told me that, including the cleaning lady. Folks around here are very into their cars. Anything else? Yes, I got the impression that everyone hates his guts. Well, nobody likes the boss. The boss is like a lawyer. You're supposed to hate them. Did you talk to the girl at the front desk? Woman, Benning corrected. Yes, I did. It seems the office is open till midnight every weekday. There's always someone staying late or coming back after dinner. She signs them in and out. She gave me a list of personnel who were here late tonight. Benning pointed to the names he had written as Peterson tried to peer through his scroll to find the suspects. There were 6 names in a column, and another column showing when they arrived at the office. 2 of the names were crossed out. "What's wrong with these 2? Peterson asked. "Sally, she's the receptionist. She said these 2 met in the waiting room and never came into the main office. She watched them the whole time, so I figured, I'll do the figuring, Benny. That's what I'm paid for. You just get the facts." Peterson bent down near the dead man and, using his handkerchief, carefully took the marker from his hand. He used it to draw a line through the same names Benning had already crossed out. "That leaves these 4, he said, circling the ones that remained before wrapping the marker up and putting it in his pocket. "Where are they?" "I told them to wait in their offices, like you said. They all know Kemper was killed, but I don't think they know their suspects yet." "Good. I'll break the news to them." Loretta Garrett was first on the list. She was the top copywriter at the agency, and she didn't get there by making nice. Garrett was all work and no play. Her makeup was meant to impose, not allure. She wore pantyhose and stomping shoes with low heels. She seemed to have coffee in her veins rather than blood. Iced coffee. Her office was decorated in industrial chic. High-tech lights, steel shelves, snazzy phone. On her desk was a photo of a sleek red car where her family would have been. Next to that was a large coffee mug with the inscription, "How can I soar with the eagles when I work with turkeys?" True to her nature, she skipped the niceties and got right to the point as Peterson walked in. "Why am I here? Do you mind telling me? That assistant of yours seems to think I'm a criminal or something." Did he say that? He didn't have to. He had Miranda written all over his face. "You can't possibly think I killed him. For one thing, I don't have the time. Second, it's not my style. The only thing I ever murdered was a headline." "Do you want to sit down?" "My knees," Peterson said. In fact, his knees were fine. It was just a trick to slow things down and put him in charge. It worked, too. "Now, exactly who didn't you kill?" he asked. "Let's not play footsie, shall we? We all know what's going on here. I know all about the body, and I'm telling you I didn't kill him," she said, jerking her thumb in the general direction of the copy room. "Okay. Okay, if you say so." "No, not okay." "Not okay?" "I'm saying that I didn't murder OK Oliver Kemper. That's what we called him. Besides SOB, I mean. I would have liked to have killed him, but someone else had the pleasure first." "You didn't care for him very much." "Care for him? The man was as cuddly as Joseph Stalin. He was a crook, a bully, a sexist, a cheat, and a louse. What did I forget?" "Were you having an affair with him?" "It was a pure commando tactic, thrown in simply to shake her up." Besides, Peterson had a hunch that the intensity of her feelings suggested something personal between them. But he was wrong. The look that crossed her face was a midway between a dry heave and cyanide poisoning. "You've got to be joking. I'd sooner have an affair with Bigfoot." "Much sooner," she said wistfully. "OK was trying to have an affair with me." She was bending a pencil so hard that it broke in 2. The eraser took flight and landed in Peterson's lap. He put it calmly back on the desk. It had the company logo on it. "Go on," he said. "He'd been after me for months, ever since the Yutz account." Yutz? Y-U-T-Z. Yutz. The best beer for best buddies. That's my copy line. It won an award. Made a fortune for the bottler. "They bought me baby as a reward." She was pointing to the photo of the car on her desk. "Once that happened, OK found me irresistibly attractive. He was drawn to success like a pig to, you weren't interested." "No way." And I told him so, but he didn't like that. He was used to getting what he wanted. He only started to spread nasty rumours around me around the office. But that was only the beginning. I knew he was going to try and destroy me. Some way, somehow. So I decided to confront him. That's why I came back to my office tonight. "How were you going to confront him?" "With a few cutting remarks," she said, picking up a pair of chrome scissors and snipping the air with them. "Is that so?" "It's a joke. I saw the body," she said, tossing him back onto her desk. "So what did you do?" "I knew he was working late tonight. He always worked late. He didn't have a real life. So I came back around 11:30 when everyone else was gone. I was going to tell him once and for all to leave me alone or I'd report him. But he wasn't in the office. I was waiting here when I heard the cleaning lady scream." Peterson checked Benning's list. The receptionist had recorded Garrett's arrival at exactly 11:30. She was telling the truth. About that, at least. "Wait here, Ms. Garrett," Peterson said. "I may want to talk to you again." "Anytime," she said jauntily. "But tell me if you find out who really killed OK. I'd like to buy them dinner." Wilfred Sneedy's office was a mess. Balls of crumpled paper covered the floor where they had missed the garbage pail. Designs, sketches and photographs were taped to every square inch of wall space. The desk itself was piled with work, forming a wall behind which Sneedy hid. And there were coloured marking pens everywhere. It gave Peterson the feeling of walking into someone's unruly consciousness. "Mr. Sneedy," Peterson said, reading from his list, "you are the art director. Then you must be Peterson, the cop," Sneedy quipped. He speedily crumpled the paper he'd been drawing on and threw it at the garbage pail. It missed and joined the rest of the debris nearby. "I'd like to ask you a few questions." "Sure, go ahead." It's after midnight, I've got 3 layoffs during the morning, there's no coffee, and there's a corpse in the coffee room. One of those days. What do you want to know? I want to know what you know. About Kemper? Not much. He was a bastard, the worst boss I ever had. But you continue to work for him. Do you have any idea what this company pays me to do my creative doodles? Why did you come back to the office tonight? I told you, I've got 3 jobs during the morning. I came back at 10:30, planning to work for a couple of hours. Now it seems I'm a murder suspect instead. Are you? Peterson said, checking his list. Sneedy was right about the time. Unless you're here to help me with the Eurodyne account. Do you always work this late? We've been backed up lately, Sneedy explained. The takeover business has been eating up everyone's time. Which takeover? The takeover by the boys at Hostile. That's what we call hostile management. It's a huge holding company. They buy up businesses. Now they're trying to buy Hoop and Holler. But it's a hostile bid. No one wants them. Our board is trying to fight them off. Everybody's all shook up about it because they come in, they'll replace all the top creative people. You included. That's right. A few of us got together to see if we could arrange to buy the company ourselves. It's sort of a stock transfer deal that I don't understand. But it means I could own the place instead of getting fired from it. So me, Loretta, Andy Evans and a few others have been looking into it. But there's a ton of work involved. Sneedy leaned back in his chair and yawned. On the wall behind him there was a framed ad, one of his award winners. The headline said, "Work is the refuge of people who have nothing better to do." What about Kemper? Peterson asked. How did he fit in? In his usual way, by trying to stab everyone else in the back. What does that mean? He was busy stealing financial information and giving it, selling it probably, to the opposition. How do you know that? Hostile knew things about our finances that were top secret, and about proposed ad campaigns, creative stuff. It's given them tremendous leverage in the negotiations. Somebody had to have stolen that information. It's the only way they could know it. And you think that somebody was Kemper? I know it was Kemper. I'd been watching him. A lot of people were. But there was nothing suspicious. No secret meetings, no rendezvous in the park, nothing like that. Until I noticed that he was sending out for lunch every day. So I intercepted the delivery boy and... bingo. You found something. He was stealing files and storing them on floppy disks. The delivery boy picked up the disks each time he bought Kemper's lunch. What did you do about this? I was going to tell him about it tonight. Quietly, when there was no one else around, so he couldn't make a scene. And to catch him off guard. He was a real manipulator. I thought it might give me some bargaining power in case Hostile won the bid, but it looks like I'm too late. So it seems, Peterson said, walking out. Meanwhile, I'd appreciate it if you'd stay in your office until I call for you. But I have things to do, Sneedy protested. I told you, I can't just sit here waiting for you. Would you like to confess to the murder of Oliver Kemper? Me? Are you crazy? I didn't kill him. Well, it looks like you're going to have to wait for me to prove it. Andrew Evans, the top account executive at Hoop and Holler, was next. He had arrived at 9:30 that night, according to Benning, 3 hours earlier, but he was standing when Peterson entered as though he had just arrived himself. Tall and controlled, Evans looked like an ambassador for his own personality, impeccable in a designer suit. He quickly pocketed a keychain with a Mercedes logo that had been twirling in his fingers, and he went to shake the detective's hand. "Detective Peterson," he said, "I'll be happy to help you in any way that I can. Have a seat and we can discuss this matter. What would you like to know? Tell me about Oliver Kemper." Well, it's no secret that we weren't exactly the best of friends, but I held no animosity towards the man. Why weren't you friends? Because he was trying to get rid of me, have me dismissed. Why was that? Jealousy, pure and simple. You see, I am the top account executive in this agency. I had billings of over $6 million last year. That makes you quite valuable, you understand. I don't know if you've heard, but a group of employees is preparing to buy the agency before an outside corporation does. Yes, I've heard. Hostile management. Correct. If they win the fight, they will obviously have to keep me. Kemper knew that in such a case he would be out and I would be in. On the other hand, if our group had won the fight, we'd have fired Kemper in 2 seconds. Everybody despised the man. He knew that too. Either way, he would have lost our little competition, so his only choice was to try and get rid of me first. And how was he trying to do that? Evans adjusted his glasses to better examine Peterson before confiding in him. When he seemed to pass muster, Evans continued. Blackmail. Kemper was blackmailing you? He was trying to. He claimed that I was selling privileged information to Hostile. It was a complete fabrication, of course, but Oliver Kemper wasn't above outright lying to get his ways. What did you do about it? I was about to confront him when someone had the audacity to murder him first. It's not surprising to me, though. Kill or be killed, that's the rule in this business. Is that a fact? Peterson said, getting up from the chair slowly, like a judge. Don't be so literal, detective. This is a cutthroat business, you have to watch your back. Standing up, Peterson noticed a leather scissors holder on Evans' desk. It was part of a ritzy desk set including a matching blotter, pencil cup and calendar. But the scissors themselves were missing. Lose your scissors? Peterson asked. Evans looked at the holder as though he was noticing it for the first time. Oh, I guess I have. Why'd you ask? because there happens to be a pair of scissors in Kemper's neck that looks like they might fit in there. Then if I were you, I'd find out who took them from my desk. Any of them could have killed Kemper if they had the chance. Peterson's look suggested that he already had a good idea of who it might be. Come now, detective, do you seriously think that I would kill Oliver Kemper with my own scissors, leave the weapon in there for all to see, and keep the empty sheath in my desk? That's called self-incrimination. It happens all the time. I didn't get to be the best in my field by being stupid, detective. Millicent Craven was thin and awkward, and with her beaky nose she gave the impression of a crane in a pantsuit. But as Kemper's executive assistant, she had a great deal to do with the actual running of Hope and Holler. There was hardly any information that didn't pass her desk, including the astonishing news that Kemper had been embezzling money from the agency. How long did that go on? Peterson asked. Almost 3 years. He was taking it from various expense accounts, but he had changed the figures in the computer to make it seem like all the top executives were redirecting the money into their own private accounts. So he was setting all of them up. Mr. Kemper was an equal opportunity embezzler. This is a very serious crime, Miss Craven. Why didn't you report it? I was waiting for the right moment. And when was that going to be? I don't know, Mr. Peterson. I guess I was also frightened. Of Kemper? I was afraid he might kill me if he knew that I knew. He had a terrible temper. He was once convicted of manslaughter. You never knew what he might blow up about next. Even the smallest things. Let alone something like this. What was your relationship with him like? I got along with him. I made it my business to. It was my job. He respected me, I think. He liked the fact that we were both left-handed. He said it was the sign of a hard worker. How much money did he steal? Craven swirled around to her computer screen and punched up a file. A plastic sign over the monitor showed a symbol of a stomach and the phrase "ulcer in progress." Peterson believed it. As the file appeared on the screen, Craven stiffly put on a pair of glasses to read the numbers. "Please don't tell anyone," she said. "About the embezzlement?" "No, the glasses. I never wear them outside this room. I only need them for close work like reading the monitor. I really have good vision and they don't make me look so..." Nerdy was the word that came to Peterson's mind, but he didn't say it. "Officious," she concluded. "Here it is. Almost $1 million. That's how much he stole." "You don't sound very surprised." "Mr. Kemper always said he lived by the golden rule." "Which rule is that?" Peterson asked. "Whoever has the gold makes the rules," she quoted. "Besides, just between you and me, Mr. Kemper was not a very nice individual." "You came back into the office at 10:30 tonight, Miss Craven. Why?" "To do some filing. I work late all the time, have for years. And I must say, my diligence has paid off. Our efficiency has increased by 7% since I've run the office. The agency even rewarded me with a blue sports car last year. Not that I ever exceed the speed limit." "I'm sure you don't," Peterson said on the way out. Everything was just as Peterson left it when he returned to the copy room. The papers, the body, and Benning standing mindlessly near the door. Other officers had arrived to help in the investigation, and they were waiting for the main suite for instructors. But now, having had a break from the scene, Peterson had a new insight. It was suddenly clear to him what was wrong. Something was indeed missing, and he now knew what it was. "You see," he said, pointing to the papers again. "The splattered blood. There's a break in the pattern, a gap, as though one sheet of paper has been removed." "You think the murderer took it?" Benning asked. "Could be. We'd better find out." "Should we search all the offices?" "We'll have to," Peterson said, "although it's a pretty obvious place to hide something." "But where else then?" Peterson was standing with his hands in his pockets as he spoke. It was the jingling of his own car keys that provided the answer. "Let the others search the offices," Peterson said, dashing off to the elevators. "You collect the keys from the other suspects and meet me in the car parking lot." The garage in the building could have passed for a showroom of the National Auto Show. There were only 5 cars at that hour, but they were beauties. A Rolls Royce, a blue Porsche, 1 Mercedes, and 1 red and 1 green BMW. In contrast, Peterson's old Volvo looked like an archaeological find. Peterson checked Sneady's BMW first, but found only a few maps, a tennis racket, a hairbrush, and a car phone. On a whim, recalling an old episode of Columbo, Peterson pressed the read-all button to see what the last call had been. He got a recorded message from Pete's Pizza to call back during business hours. Not much help. Kemper's Rolls was in perfect condition, but also devoid of clues. The next stop proved more helpful. Rolled up in the glove compartment of the blue Porsche, Peterson found what he was looking for. It was a blood-splattered copy from the photocopy machine, the missing sheet of paper. The image on it showed a portion of a body that had been pressed up against the glass, fallen onto the copy machine when he was stabbed. Then the machine duly made a copy. But it had captured an important clue. Kemper's right hand had been squashed between his body and the glass pane. The watch and the dial were very visible. The copy machine had actually recorded the time of the murder. It read 10:11. "What a break," Benning said. "The murderer removed it and hid it in his car." "It seems that way, but what do you make of this mark?" Peterson was pointing to a small red symbol that had been scrawled on the paper. "It looks like the letter G, the same colour as the marker in the dead man's hand." "Let's make sure," Peterson said. He took out his folded handkerchief with the red marker and Benning's list of names. Holding the marker carefully by the fabric, he drew a copy of the symbol on the paper near the names. The colour matched exactly. I thought this marker might be important, Peterson said. But what does the symbol mean? G for Garrett? Okay, Peterson said, but if that's true, then we have a little problem. We do? Only one person was in the office at 11:10, but that's not the person who owns this car, and neither of them is Garrett. So at the moment, these three clues, the time, the car, and the red mark, point to three different suspects. That was the obvious conclusion, but as Peterson examined the evidence more closely and thought back to the murder scene and the interviews, he realised that things weren't exactly what they seemed. The killer had tried to pull off a few tricks along with the murder. In fact, taking everything into account, all the clues actually pointed to one suspect. It took some figuring, but that was Peterson's specialty. Assemble the puzzle and study the scene for yourself. Peterson is right. The clues only point to one of the suspects. Can you figure out who killed the boss? So the jigsaw is now done. This was a lengthy and unpleasant jigsaw to do, I'm not going to lie. I think I said before I was hoping this wouldn't take more than an afternoon. It's taken about a week. This was a really difficult jigsaw. Both me and my wife working on it every day. Yeah, it's taken us a long time. It's because there's lots of individual interesting things to see and work together, but so much of this is just blank black space. So you're just putting together individual pieces of jigsaw until something fits. This was such an unpleasant thing to do, but we've done it. So now we can use this and actually try and work out the murder mystery part of this game. So what I'm thinking is that we are going to do this together, me and you. I'm going to talk out loud as I try and work out all the different things of it. And then you can see if you solve the puzzle before I do. So I'm going to start by writing down the names of each of the suspects, when they arrived at the office according to their story, and any interesting things about them that we got from the conversations. So we have Loretta Garrett, Wilfred Sneedy, Andrew Evans, and Millicent Craven. Oh, I suppose the murder victim, Oliver Kemper. Loretta Garrett, first on the list. She arrived at 11:30 p.m. She hated Oliver Kemper, apparently, and she had a car called Baby. Wilfred Sneedy is next. So he arrived at 10:30. So he was one of the people who was trying to buy out the business. So he says that Oliver Kemper was stealing financial information and putting that information onto floppy disks. God, this game is from the 90s. So he says that Oliver Kemper was stealing files, putting them on floppy disks, and giving them to the delivery boy. So Andrew Evans, he arrived at 9:30. He had a Mercedes car. He was being blackmailed. He was attempting to blackmail him anyway. So what's confusing is he says Kemper was trying to blackmail him for saying that he was selling information to the other company. But Wilfred Sneedy says that it was Oliver Kemper who was doing the stealing. So it was Oliver Kemper stealing information, selling it, and then trying to blackmail somebody else for doing that thing? Is that what it's trying to say? It's very weird. And he lost the scissors. He potentially had the murder weapon. So then we get to Millicent Craven. So she knew about the embezzlement. She wears glasses. When did she arrive at the office? 10:30 apparently. And I think it said here that she was left-handed. Somebody was left-handed. And they wouldn't have said that if it wasn't important. There we go. He said that we were both left-handed. That was Millicent. There we go. So Oliver Kemper is also left-handed. So that's all the information. But then towards the end, basically the policeman says, we've got 3 suspects. How does that work? The time, the car, and the red mark. So the time was 10:11. Right, so the cars are Rolls Royce, a blue Porsche, a Mercedes, and a red and a green BMW. He checked on Sneedy's BMW first. Okay, well, there's 2 BMWs, so one of them is Sneedy's. Kemper's Rolls Royce was next, but he's the guy who's dead. No one's going to be putting clues in his car. The next up, In the blue Porsche. So this is where the clue is. So I'm guessing whoever owns the blue Porsche is the murderer. Okay. The policeman says, at this moment we have 3 clues: the time, the car, and the red mark. Apparently they all point to 3 different people. So they think the red mark is a G, and that points to Garrett. The time is 10:11, but only one person was in the office by 10:11, and that's Andrew Evans. The car, the time, and the symbol. So despite spending a week working on this jigsaw puzzle, I haven't actually looked much at the things in it. So I don't really know what clues we're going to get from this. So we're assuming that this is the car of the killer. Okay, well, it's got heels in it. That would suggest that it's not a man. But over here we have the piece of paper that was missing, and this has got the watch of the guy who was killed and the symbol, which they've said looks like a G. And let's just face it, this doesn't look like a G at all. This is quite clearly glasses. So I'm just assuming that this means it is the lady who wears glasses, which was Craven. The other thing about this that I just kind of immediately went to that is that they said about the time on his watch being 10:11. And I'm just assuming that that is actually flipped and it's backwards and it's actually 11:01. I don't know how that would work with it being a scanner. Would it then flip the image from the scan? I'm just assuming that that's the clue that we are looking at, because the time is such a big thing. So if the time of the crime was actually 10:11, that means that only one person was in the office. If it's the other way around, if it's 11:01, several people are in the office. So let's say it's 11:01. That means Loretta Garrett was not in the office still. She wasn't there till 11:30. Wilfred Sneedy was in the office. Andrew Evans was in the office. Millicent Craven was in the office. So at the minute, I'm just thinking it's Millicent Craven. She was there at the time. This symbol quite clearly is glasses. She wears glasses. She said it's a secret. So I'm guessing that's his way of... this was the murderer's way of saying, this is who did it, I'm going to draw glasses to show it. That's 2 of the 3 things. The only thing left is the car. So we know that Evans has the Mercedes. This is not the Mercedes. They said this is the blue Porsche. Evans, it's not him. Sneedy has a BMW. We don't know if it's the red or the green one, but it doesn't matter. This is a Porsche. It's not Sneedy. So that leaves Loretta Garrett and Millicent Craven. And I don't know if there's specifically a way that we can see through this which one of those people it is. There was something in the document about heels. Let me see if I can find out what that said. Loretta Garrett, she wore stomping shoes with low heels. These do not have low heels, these have high heels. Is that enough? Is that what the game wants me to see? But I'm going to say that that is it. It was Millicent Craven who did it. She was there in time, if we assume that this is backwards. I think it's her car because there's heels and the other lady didn't wear heels. And the red symbol quite clearly is glasses. So, let's have a look-see in the book and see if I'm right. So, first off, the hint. You have to read this backwards. Take a close look at the time recorded by the copy machine, Peterson said. This murder didn't occur at 10:11, and that means that the other 2 clues don't imply what they seem at first glance. The red symbol isn't the letter G, and somebody else besides the owner put the clues in this car. So it's not hers. Hold on, that might have changed everything. So I still think this is Millicent Craven's car because of the heels. Does anybody else wear glasses? Did I miss that? Hold on, if anybody else wears glasses, that blows this wide open. Right, I've had a look. I can't find anything else about anybody else wearing glasses. I mean, I'm pretty convinced this is her car, but the game has just said that they don't think that she was the murderer. Let me just have one last look at my notes and see if there's anything else that we may have missed. So according to the time, 3 of the people could have done it, but not Loretta Garrett. So it's one of these 3. I mean, it must be something about the floppy disks. Although Millicent Craven also said she was left-handed. And as I say, that has to mean something, right? And that hasn't come back up. I'm just going to have to look up the answer. I mean, I think mine makes sense, but we will find out. Look at the watch, Peterson said to a still puzzling Benning. It's upside down. You can tell by the strap. Whoever murdered Kemper turned his watch upside down and faked this picture to set up an alibi. The real time the murder occurred and this copy was made wasn't 10:11, it was 11:01. That eliminates Garrett as a suspect. She arrived too late to murder Kemper. Then the red symbol isn't the letter G. No, it's a drawing of a pair of glasses. Aha, Benning said, as though he had made the discovery himself. You said Kemper was killed in the dark. He must have seen that his attacker was wearing glasses, and he drew them before he was killed. Evans is the only one who wears glasses. But Kemper didn't draw the glasses. For one thing, the marker is in the right hand and Kemper was left-handed. The murderer drew the symbol to throw us off, and that eliminates Evans. Why would he leave a clue that would point to himself? Then the same thing is true of the car. If the murderer set all this up to avoid suspicion, he wouldn't have left the evidence in his own car. Her own car. This Porsche belongs to Craven, and that lets her off the hook. Leaving only one person not eliminated, Wilfred Sneedy. He killed Kemper in the copy room, then staged the time of the murder by turning Kemper's watch upside down and photocopying it. He put the marker in Kemper's hand, the wrong one, and drew the glasses. Then he hid the clues in Craven's car. He was trying to deflect suspicion away from himself to everyone else. But he overdid it. He's a workaholic. We better go tell him he's about to have a nice long vacation. So I got that wrong. I'm really annoyed by that. I was so convinced I had that right. But yeah, there was more clues there that I missed about Oliver Kemper having the pen in his right hand, but actually he was left-handed. I did not get about the watch being upside down. That's fair. Oh, I'm so annoyed by that. And I completely missed that someone else wore glasses. Maybe if I'd got that, I would have worked this out. So did you get the answer? Let me know in the comments. And now let's have some final thoughts on To Kill a Boss. The actual murder mystery, very fun. I always enjoy these, even if I get it wrong. It's nice being able to read the answer and kind of go, oh, that's what I was supposed to do. It's much more complicated. That's very fun. The Jigsaw, awful. Absolutely hated every second of this. It says on the back that this is difficult. That means there is one level above this that is called impossible, and I really hate the idea that anyone had to do a Jigsaw more difficult than this for one of these games. And aside from the Jigsaw just being really difficult, the photo itself is dreadful. Like, I can't tell which part of the car this is supposed to be. The blacks in the picture are so black that it makes it very difficult to discern what is going on, and also obviously makes it more difficult to do the Jigsaw. This, awful. This, quite fun, actually. If you have ever played this kind of murder mystery jigsaw puzzle game, let me know in the comments. I really enjoyed this overall, aside from this, and I would like to do more of these. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Rob, and I will see you in another random video very soon.